Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Through the Fire and the SBN Small Business Network podcast. I am your host, Ryan Wickline, and today we are joined by a very special guest. He is the founder of Valor and Vision Coaching, and he's the director of his men's. He's the men's director at his church, Mr. Nick Furloni. How you doing today, Nick?
I'm doing great, man. Excited to be on here today.
Hey, I'm excited to have you. So the number one question the audience is probably wondering: who is Nick Furloni?
I'm still wondering that too. No, you know, and so I'm a guy that is a product of a military family, and then also the military myself. So my dad did 27 years in the Army. I was born in Germany, so I can't even read my birth certificate other than the name and the date. And so but it was interesting, it was fun getting to move around and see all of the different states that I lived in, and then even a few countries. Of course, Germany being one, and I went back during my own military time and lived in Germany as well. And getting to see how other people live and cultures and all that kind of good stuff. Lived in many different states, even lived in Peru for a little bit as a little kid, all that kind of good stuff. And so I've always had an appreciation for people. I've always had an appreciation for seeing the commonalities of everybody, even though it's easier for us to find differences. In all reality, we're a lot more common than we are different. So, but that's
Awesome.
that's kind of like my upbringing, of course, is where I'm at. And so, and then getting out of the military, though, that was really, if you will, the world will call it your spiritual awakening, my spirit. But that's when God really like kind of grabbed and snatched me up. Went to church. We got invited, my wife and I, and she. She accepted the Lord. I was like, I kind of redevoted myself, if you will, at that point. That's really when he just grabbed a hold of me. And that's where also my ministry journey like really took off. And so I've been doing that for about 9 years now, both volunteer and professional. And so that's also been an absolute joy to be a part of doing that too.
Awesome. Yeah, you gave us a lot of stuff to unpack right there. First off, um, was that did you join the army because mainly because your dad was in it?
No, I thought I lived the military through my dad. My dad went to West Point. He played football there as well. So go Army, beat Navy. That's a big thing in our house. You know, and so there was. I just kind of felt like through 18, 19 years of living it through my dad, watching him move us around and go through all the different stuff that he did, I felt like I kind of lived it. So I didn't really have the desire to join the military at first. So I didn't go to the academy or any of that kind of stuff. I went to Marshall University in Huntington, West Virginia. Um, I first thought I was going to be the next Jerry Maguire, like sports agent, right? And it's like, and then I got into it and really kind of learned what it took to be a sports agent and all that. And I was like, I'm not interested in any of this. Like, I like sports, but I don't eat, breathe sports, right? I don't, that's not, I enjoy it. But I'm not like, oh my gosh, I know every stat of every player. Like, that's not me. I've got my friends that know all that stuff, and they keep me abreast of everything. Um, so I bounced around a lot in college, and until basically 9/11 happened while I was there in school. And 9/11 woke me up. 9/11 basically said, "Hey, look, you were born with a patriotic bone. It's time for you to serve too." And that's where that really just came out in me, and it was time to suit up.
Man, that's crazy because I remember to this day where I was
Mm-hmm.
when 9/11 happened. Like I was sleeping and I was at Ohio State at the time, and my roommate came home was like from work early in the morning, and he was like, "Hey, there's been an attack, or a plane flew into the World Trade Center, it was a bomb or something like that happened in '93. I don't think
Right.
you know what's going on, but when we turned it on, TV on, we saw that second plane hit, and it was kind of crazy.
It was wild. I kind of had a similar, I didn't have a class until about noon that day. So it was Tuesday, and I just happened to work out of my schedule at college where Tuesday was like my sleep in day. And my neighbors knew that. It was these two girls, and they like woke me up, and I thought they were trying to prank me because we kind of pranked back and forth. And I'm like, today's my sleep in day. Why are you messing with me? Like, they're like, no, a plane flew in New York and everything. Yeah, I turn on the news, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, man, if you all are messing with me. And I turned it on, and literally 2 seconds after turning it on, I saw the second plane hit live. And I was just like, oh, no, today is not like any other day.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's awesome though that you went and served because of that.
Yeah, it's just, it kind of just woke me up. It made me understand a little bit of, hey, I was born and raised in a certain family for a certain reason, and that just really came out in me. And it's like, that whole, I think there's also a nature that us men naturally have, and it just really came out of this protective nature. Just I know you don't do that to my country, you don't do that to my people, you don't do that, absolutely not. So it's time to suit up.
Yeah. What did your time in the Army teach you about leadership?
Everything, including the good and the bad. I think leadership is all about moving people towards a vision and a mission, right? To accomplish that a vision and mission in your life, or your organization. Um, and ultimately, it showed me about more of how to really work with a diverse group of people. The military is a mixing bowl of everybody in our own country, and our own country in general is a giant mixing bowl of different cultures and backgrounds and ethnicities and everything. And so it deepened even my understanding and my love for different people and for people in general. And then just us coming together uh, and having that commonality that we're all here for this ultimate reason of taking care of our country and doing something that is bigger and greater than ourselves. And so uh, tapping into that with everybody, having that commonality, that really helped with leadership and moving forward. Unfortunately, the military is not without its flaws, and I'm not going to sit here and say everybody that was in there was like this shining bright individual. There were bad leaders. There were bad leaders in the military, and there are amazing, absolute studs in the military as well. And and unfortunately, I've seen some bad leaders, and so, but I had the wisdom, I believe, and at least the understanding to look at that and go, that's not good leadership. Like, people are disgusted by this. People are not listening to this. They're only doing whatever this person is saying because they're in that rank structure. And so leadership, you can have leadership by position, but that doesn't get you any further when that position gets taken away, when that specific title or rank or something gets taken away. Uh, they won't follow you for nothing when any of that goes away. They want to follow you because you're a man of your word. You're a man that cares for them, that has their best interest in mind, even above yourself. Things of that nature really are true leadership, because ultimately, when the bullets start flying, uh, rank, position, under that, most of that goes out the window. It's like, I'm going to follow the person that I know has my best interest and is going to get us to win this fight and get us out of here safe.
Yeah, well said right there. You talk about going through an identity crisis after you left the Army. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
The Army and the military in general is amazingly good at saying, here is your identity. Watch any military commercial, right? Of like, join the Marines, join the Army, join the Navy, join any of them, right? And it's this imparting of a identity onto you. of saying you're a hero, you're amazing, you're a Marine, you're a soldier, you're a sailor, all of this. Um, and then it comes with all of the other things that our society already says, like, oh my gosh, you're a hero, you're a patriot, you care for us, you're doing something greater than most of everybody else that's not willing to stand up. And so oh my gosh, it just pumps you up, and you feed and live off of that. But then we hang up the uniform, and then we say, hey, it's time for me to go off and do something else with my life. And that's where there was this subconscious. What I don't believe anybody was consciously doing this, but you put your identity on every day. You buttoned up your uniform that had your name and your rank and all of your accolades and all that kind of cool, fun stuff on your chest. That it's like, look at me, look at what I was able to accomplish, look at my stature, look at all of this where I'm at. And then now that uniform gets hung up in a closet, and it's like, who am I without this? There's no rank before your name. There's no title. There's no, branch or, awards or any of that kind of stuff. That all gets put on the shelf. And it's good for you to remember, but nobody else sees it. And so it becomes this now, who am I? And I went through that as well. I think most military, and I would say even it's not just a military thing, it's anybody that wears any type of uniform at all, doctors, nurses, police, fire, EMT, anybody that has any type of quote unquote uniform and then they stop wearing it, there's this subconscious of, who am I without this? Because people recognize me for this, and it's not there anymore. And so I was like, what am I to do? Uh, and I realized that really my identity has nothing to do with a title. My identity has nothing to do with awards and accolades and skill badges, or the color or any uniform. That's not your identity. That's just a role we played. That's just a position and a role in society, in the organization in which we were a part of, and now we're not. But your identity are things that can't be taken away from you. Your discipline in life, your ethics, your character, uh, your ethnicity, right? All of these things that make you you, that literally, I don't care what you do, you can't take that from somebody. That's your identity. The things that even you learn, the skills and capabilities that you learned in the military, those are still going to go with you. Those are part of your identity now that you are able to leverage and use in a different role now in your life. And so, what I believe we need to be doing is showing people how you don't lose your identity. Your identity still moves with you. It's your role that changes. You're not captain such and such. You're not sergeant such and such anymore. Um, or put on any of the ranks in any of the branches, right? You're not police officer such and such. You're not firefighter such. You are whoever your name is, and all of those characteristics that made you great at that job still are with you and can be used to make you great at another role somewhere else as you move on. And that's what we need to hone in on. And then from a Christian perspective, that's a whole nother thing that really like opened my eyes into so much, is that the other part is, who made you? And we go, well, my mom and dad. And okay, no. Your mom absolutely did a fantastic job in being there to be the vessel that God used to knit you in her womb. But she didn't sit there and actually knit you. She did everything on her end that she was supposed to do. Moms are absolutely outstanding individuals in our lives, right? And so we give it up for moms and all that they had to go through. But God sat there and actually knit you in his womb, as his word even says. And so from there, and even in Ephesians 2:10, it says that I've gone before you for the good works in which you shouldn't do. So God already has a plan and good works and a path exactly already designed for you specifically, and what you need to go forth and do. And that's part of knowing what are the capabilities you're really good at? Also, what are your weaknesses? Right? We see that different in everybody, our strengths and weaknesses, right? That's part of what makes Ryan Ryan and what makes Nick Nick. We do things differently. And that's okay. We need to be different, right? We need to celebrate differences. We don't need to be pointing fingers at differences, because if everybody was the same, man, this life would be boring.
Yeah, be very
Like,
boring.
right? And nothing would get done because all of us would be the same thing. We'd all be, I don't know, just pick something. Like, we'd all be chefs, but nobody would be a hunter to go bring the meat for us to be a chef. And so, right? And nobody would be, any of the other things that we need to do life in the beautiful, thing that we call Earth here, and doing all of that. And so, um, that's what we need to hone in on. What are your skills? What are your attributes? What are your characteristics? What are the things that you were born into? What are the skills that you've learned along the way? What are even the experiences, good and bad, that have shaped you to be you? And they're things that can't be taken away. And they're things that can be used for your greater good, and moving forward into the mission and destiny that God has for you.
Yeah. So, a couple things here. How would you suggest someone goes and finds out their purpose that God has for them?
I think sometimes we over mystify our purpose, right? We think it's going to be some neon sign on the wall that we just need to find somewhere and turn it on so we can, like, oh, my purpose is to, you know, uh, evangelize to kids in South America. Like, no, that may be for a season. Maybe you need to go down there, right? Maybe some people do that for a long time. Other people don't. Um, but it's kind of understanding, who are you, and if when you're in the faith as well, just really kind of honing into that. And the other part is understanding that life is a journey, and so there's going to be parts of your life that you may not know your full life mission, and that's okay. Because quite honestly, if God sat down and told me, hey, this is what your big life purpose is for you to fulfill when you're 50, my impatient butt will want to do it right now.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's a level of, like, what is the right thing for you to do now? What is the right thing for you to move forward towards now? And that's where we need to focus in on. The tomorrow, that's God's business. He will guide us and handle that, because that's in his hands, not ours. Right. I don't know about you. We did this thing in the military. It was like, where do you want to be in 5 years? And I wrote down, like, all this stuff. And 5 years later, none of it happened. Right. And I asked so many people, and they're like, what did you write down for 5 years later? And 5 years then, did any of that happen? And he's like, the only thing that wrote on there was, like, I wanted to have kids. Right. And he had kids. But other than that, it wasn't, I wanted to do this in the Army. Well, things happened, doors opened, and he went a whole different direction and did something else. Um, I wanted to be this. Well, that didn't happen. I went in a different direction. And so there's almost this level of, don't worry about the 5 year, 10-year goals and all that kind of stuff. Worry about maybe the next 2 years. Worry about something that you can actually start tangibly working towards, and kind of, what do you feel like you are equipped to start working towards now? Um, and so, like, that's one of the things that I do great with Valor and Vision Coaching, is we'll sit down and we'll actually go through an identity worksheet. So it all starts from there. You have to know who you are and what God has made you to do. You kind of understand the baseline that you're made in his image and all these things. And then we start working on the details of, like, who you are, what are the skills, attributes, characteristics, all those things that I listed. And when those things start, we start writing them down, they really start blossoming and coming alive in our mind and going, oh my God, you know what? I'm actually pretty decent at this. And I would love to do that more because it brings me joy, or, fulfills me and all that kind of good stuff. Okay, well, then what are the steps we need to start taking now to get you towards doing more of that and less of something that's just, sucking the life out of you right now? Right. If you're just sitting there and you're a bean counter at work, it's just like, I hate this, right? And you're just dying. Well, maybe that kind of self work is what you need to do to start moving you towards a certain direction, right? Um, but the whole like, oh, what am I supposed to do in the next 30 years? Too vast, too big. Don't worry about it. That's God's business. Let's worry about what can we start working towards now to get you towards a direction. Maybe you already are being, doing what you are called to do, and that's even better. Like, great, rest in that, enjoy that, right? The other part is just because you realize your calling doesn't mean it takes away hard days. I think that's another thing. Like, some people think, when I know my calling, every day will be like rainbows, and I jump out of bed like I ate, um, the best pancakes in a Red Bull or something crazy like that, and like every day is awesome, like the Lego song, right? Everything is awesome. That's not gonna be the reality of when you know your purpose, right? Like, I believe my purpose is to really help and spur and lead other people into uh those next steps, goal accomplishment, coaching and leading others, and helping them see the potential that they have. That has just been something I love to do, and I love seeing the growth in people. And so let's go, let's do that, but make it smaller, make it easier. Don't 30 years way too big. Don't worry about
Yeah, I love how you're chunking that down to a
it.
lot, like from this big, vast vision down to smaller, tangible things that can be accomplished a lot quicker. And
Yeah.
I know from my own personal journey and the people I've helped too, it's like, I'll tell you this, you might think you're going to go in this direction, but I know God, like what he's always done to me, he's going to move you and redirect you to where he wants you that you don't
Yep.
see any of it coming.
No, it's forgotten the exact verses. Basically, like, you can plan all day, but the Lord is ultimately going to guide your
Yeah.
steps. It's that's paraphrasing one of the scriptures, but and that's there's nothing wrong with planning, but don't be so rigid that if your plans have to lean left or right or go in a different direction slightly, that's God doing what God does best, right? And so allow that.
And then, you never know. He might take you somewhere and then bring you back to doing the exact same thing, just to take you the long way around to humble you a little bit more.
Absolutely.
So, what led you to your conversion?
So, uh, in college, I was hanging around with some campus crusade with Christ guys and things like that, and now today it's known as Crew, that organization. And I was like, I definitely believe in Jesus, and I believe, um, that He took upon my sin on the cross, and I'm like, awesome, right? Who doesn't want somebody to take up all of their wrongs and their sins
Yeah.
for them? That sounds great. The whole, wait a minute, you're my Lord and I have to follow you now. I haven't even seen you. It kind of, I was just not mature enough to really wrap my head around that. And so I went off and still lived my life my way, if you will, through the military and everything. Right. Um, as I'm getting out of the military, I meet my wife then, and um, we hit it off, and we get married, and we're having a great time. And when we were getting married at the wedding ceremony, my mom is, right before we go and line up and everything, she kind of hits, comes over to me, and she's like, it does she know the Lord? And I'm like, oh, mom, don't worry about that. Like, that'll all work itself out, or something. And I was just kind of poo pooed it. Um, but ever since then, that really resonated with me a little bit. And I mean, I was not an actual Christ follower at the time, but it sparked something in me to every so often, whether I was driving or about to go to bed or something, I just had this little silent prayer of God. However you do this, I would love it if my wife came to know you. I'd love if my wife came to follow you. Know I don't know whatever this means, but I would. This is just my prayer. And it was a little silent prayer. I didn't think I was. I hesitated on even believing that he would listen to me because I'm definitely not following you. I'm not doing anything. I'm not. We're not going to church at the time at all or anything. And so that just went on for probably a couple of years. I did express when we had our first son, I was like, I kind of want us to go to church. Somebody else to kind of back me up on like teaching my son morals as he grows up and all that kind of stuff is really my idea. We get invited to this church. It's by the beach, by the way, so that was kind of like, oh, win-win. And we'll throw the chairs and the bathing suits in the back of the car, and we'll go to church, and then we'll hit the beach. This would be a great day, kind of thing, is my envision. And we go and visit this church, and pastor's real dynamic and everything. And he's doing his deal. I don't remember like the topic, but I do remember feeling something. And at the end of the service, he said, "When you bow your head and close your eyes, and if you're willing to accept Jesus, raise your hand." And it's like we don't want to embarrass anybody, so that everyone's supposed to have their eyes closed and stuff. And I didn't. And I peeked over and I saw my wife do that, and it blew me away. It blew me away because I did not think that one. I was like questioning whether after a while I was like, "Is this even real? Is he even listening to me? Probably not, because I'm just a nasty heathen that says he believes in Christ but doesn't show a lick of it in his life. So there's no way he's listening to me." And he did in front of my face. And seeing my wife raise her hand and she's kind of like come to tears. To me, I just melted. I just melted right there and just like, oh my gosh, you're really real. And I can't believe you know, answered my prayer in front of my face. And so that's when I was like, you can have everything. And I just started following him from there. Got into volunteering at the church, and that's when I went back and got a master's in theology through Liberty University and online. So full time job doing online school, volunteering at the church on top of it, building my first men's ministry at the time as well, because that's where I really felt led to, be a part of the church even more and all of that. And yeah, and also having kids. And so there we go. A
Awesome.
full fun life.
Well, you were definitely being called and being
Hmm.
showed, hey, I'm real.
Yeah.
What did that kind of teach you about yourself going through your conversion right there and going back to school and getting your degree?
I think there's a level of humility, definitely, in that. It's this idea of, you know, again, you can have all the plans you want, but I'm going to guide your steps. Um, and God's timing is perfect. He knows what he's doing. He knows when to do it. Like, would I have preferred he stepped heavily into my life sooner so I didn't make like so many stupid mistakes much earlier on in my life? Yeah, absolutely. Right. We all like whenever we're going through something in our life, we would love for God to step in right now so we can take away the problem. But he doesn't do that a lot of the times. He waits to the right time because through a lot of the trials of my if I started following him so much sooner and doing like the right thing so much sooner in my life, I would not have had and learned the really thick-headed lessons that I had to learn, at a certain point. So he knows what he's doing, right? He knows like when to intervene. He knows when to do these kinds of things, and he knows when our heart is ready to really do all of that. And so, um, so I hear some people like, "Oh no, I've been following Jesus since I was 12," and I'm just like, "That's great, dude." You know, that's awesome for me. I had some life lessons I needed, and so it's definitely humbling. The other part is that I think it's really uplifting to let you know that I don't care what age you are. Uh, God can do miraculous things in your life. As long as you are breathing air, God can do miraculous things in your life. I don't care how many wrinkles are on your face. I don't care if your head is fully white hair or if you have no hair or whatever the case may be, right? Like, I don't care if you are wheelchair bound, 86 years old, whatever the case may be. God can still do miraculous things in your life and through you for others.
Yeah, I love that. And you touched on so much right there. I mean, it's just it's a breath of fresh air to see like how he can use you and converted you, and you realize, hey, I wasn't strong enough back then to follow
Mm-hmm.
you because I would have made them mistakes. Like, and I like to tell people, even through my own personal journey, it was I had to go through all that dumb stuff, or else I wouldn't be able to help so many people.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, lot of through some of the coaching I talk about and everything is like, no, you don't want to do that because I did all of that and it was really
Yeah,
really bad. You
yeah,
know? So yeah, it's definitely it helps. He will use everything for his glory and for your good.
yeah. I totally agree. You started Valor and Vision Coaching. Like, what kind of led you to start doing this on a like more full scale level?
So I really have to give it up to another. It's a veteran friend of mine. He was a Marine dog handler while he was in. We both went to church together for quite a while, and that's how we got to become friends is through church. And he's a counselor. He's a family life and marriage counselor, and him and his wife have their own practice here in New Jersey and stuff. And um, we did, different connect groups at church, and he's seen me handle different people and situations and things like that, and sit down with people and kind of walk them through like current life stuff, right? Um, and he and I had breakfast one day, and he's like, "Dude, I think this coaching thing is like really for you." I was like, well, what is coaching? Like, what's the whole point of that versus like you're a counselor, right? So I'm like, why do you want me to be a coach? And he's like, dude, okay, here's the difference. In general, coaching is taking where you are now and helping you move forward in your life to go after a vision, a mission, what accomplish goals, whatever the case may be that you need in your life. It's we're here now. Let's go forward. Counseling, therapy, all of that kind of stuff that really psychology dives deep into is ultimately trying to heal you from your past trauma to get you to a healthy place so you can move forward. And so coaching and counseling are not against each other, they should be working together. Coaching is to help you move forward, but counseling is to get you healthy enough so that you can move forward. And he's like, dude, I'm becoming a coach for certain guys that are ready to just stop counseling and just move forward. And that's where I think you would be better at that and really helping people do that. And if you have your business, I can help push people to you and all this kind of stuff. And he goes, you're just so good at sitting down with people, having the empathy to understand where they're at in their life right now, but also encourage them and give them the motivation to improve themselves and make that leap to go forward in their life. And I was like, well, one, thank you. um, Really, it's just the military and me just telling you to, uh, suck it up, Buttercup, and like, let's go, kind of deal is all reality. And he's like, no, but that's more real. People need that. They need to just be like, hey, I'm sorry your milk spoiled on the way home from the grocery store, or whatever, but suck it up, Buttercup. Just go buy another thing of milk and let's move on with the day. Don't let it ruin everything, you know. But that's some people are that way, right? And
Yeah,
we need sometimes that reality check in life of like, the old saying, don't cry over spilled milk, right? And just let's wipe it up and move forward. That's what we need to do. And sometimes we over focus on all those kinds of things. So that was a big proponent in me starting and establishing this. And then when um, I transferred over and I'm at a new church that's a little closer to home now. Uh, Fantastic. I'm the men's director there specifically. I'm actually, recently I just got promoted, so I'm also going to be doing the communications and the operations side as well at the church. But, with this, and they've been a huge advocate for me doing this as well. It's just helping guys move forward, and so I want to be able to be, a tool for somebody, and being able to help them just grow in their life, accomplish the goals, be the man that they always envision themselves to be. But how do I get there? And I think more guys need that than they realize, and so. But that's the hard part now, is telling guys you need this.
So what types of services do you provide?
So primarily, one of my big ones is, I call it a foundations program, and that's where really we kind of start going through, what is your identity? Who are you in Christ? What does God's word say about you? Kind of growing from there. And this is not just for, I'm already such a hard nosed Christian. If you are on, like, I don't know, I have this feeling that Jesus is real, but I want to know more. Like, let's go. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the evidences and all those kinds of things too. Like, let's get you, because I believe we can work on our physical fitness, and there's tons of people that are out there that can do that, and that's great. We can talk about, getting smarter and learning skills and all those kinds of things. But what are we doing for our spiritual side? Like, we have a spiritual side, whether, even psychology and everywhere else that is secular still recognizes that there is a spiritual side to us, and that we, understanding that there is a higher power than us, is absolutely understood. Very little or few psychologists now don't recognize that. That's very little. Most of them do, and they encourage us to be a part of some form of recognition of a higher power that we are connected to. Um, and showing how the Christian faith really helps propel that, and is lined up. My friend that's the counselor that I was talking about, he's just like, oh my gosh, you'd be so surprised on how so much of secular psychology absolutely lines up with what the Word of God says about us. And it doesn't even recognize that, but it's there. Like, when you just start seeing the parallels, it's wild. Um, and so just moving forward with that, and then, so that's the foundations program, is really kind of working towards that. The foundations then turns into, I have a vision worksheet, and so that's where, once we understand who we are, we start seeing our purpose and everything, and then what is the ultimate larger life vision, that we just kind of keep working towards, right? Vision is ultimately, and we see different levels of vision, right? You can have, what is the vision for your marriage? How do you want your marriage to look like? And how am I always and continuously making steps to having this healthy marriage? Now, you can't have a vision of what your marriage looks like without talking to your spouse as well. So I always put on there, on the worksheet, discuss with spouse, right? Because it needs to be a shared vision. If it's not, if it's your vision but she doesn't understand it or even know about it, it's just going to be unmet expectations. So, so there are parts where, hey, you need to, like, consult her. But I even go into, what are your visions for your hobbies? Right. And I think a lot of people don't even think about, what do you mean vision for your hobbies? And I'm like, yeah. Do you want your hobby just to be something that you kind of go to for about an hour or two a week, and you spend some time and tinker with whatever it is, maybe it's woodworking or whatever, and that just gets you away from everything, and then that's it, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And then, or is this a hobby that you want to teach other people? You want to have an Instagram page about it and show other people how to do certain things in the hobby, right? Certain different types of techniques of woodworking, if that's it, right? I just use that as an example. Maybe it's, uh, whatever it is. I used to be in, like, saltwater aquarium keeping, and there's a huge community of that. And I was on Instagram doing that for a while and stuff, and talking about how to keep parameters in the water right, and all these kinds of different things, right? Do you want to educate other people and be a part of a bigger community and all that? And so, what is the vision for your hobby? Or is this just something you want to do on your own? Leave everybody out of it. It's just for me to have, by myself, right? And so, whatever that is, great. Then, how do we put parameters in that to have a healthy life, right? Because some people, you can have this hobby, but it'll overtake you. It'll take you away from your kids. It'll take you away from your marriage, right? How do we put boundaries around it so that that is healthy? How do we put boundaries around work so that our rest of our life is healthy? How do we put even boundaries around our kids so that we prioritize our marriage? And I know that that will be a touching point with certain people as well. What do you mean? Like, I got to put boundaries around the kids? Yeah, you got to tell the kids, no, time to go to bed. It's mommy daddy time, or something like that, right? And so we start talking about all of those types of areas of our lives. What's the vision for you as a parent? What's the vision for you in your career? What is the vision for your health? Right? Are you prioritizing your health at all? Right? Some people, they are gym rats, right? And then there's others that are couch rats. And then maybe there's something healthy in between, somewhere in there. And so we kind of work through that. The other one is I have a men's community, Men of Valor. And that is a community of guys. We get together once a week on Zoom, and we kind of talk about what are the goals. And so there's a goal setting worksheet that you get for free in there, and that's what starts you out to identify what are the goals you want to go after in the next year or two, and then how do we break that down into milestones, and then even in milestones, what are we doing each week to kind of move towards it, right? I say, like, if you want to get in shape, what the thing you could do this week that is a step towards it is getting the Planet Fitness membership, or you already have one that you've been paying on for 3 years but never used it. Whatever the case may be, right? Um, Whatever it is, what is the step you need to do this week to move forward towards that goal? No matter how small it is, it's a step versus no step type thing. And so we hold each other accountable for that. What'd you do this week? Great. What is the plan for next week? As we continue to move forward, we celebrate when you hit milestones or any kind of accomplishment or goal. All of that. And then also we talk about different things. What does it look like to be a godly man? What does it look like to have integrity in our life? What does the Bible say about these types of things? And we kind of have those discussions as well as guys on that call. And then also throughout the week, you get like an encouraging either scripture or text message with either scripture or maybe it's a good quote by anybody that's just talking about either leadership or good life lessons and things like that. So to help, spur you on.
Awesome. So it seems like you take more of a mind, body, spirit approach to, like, a more holistic approach to coaching then too.
Oh, no, absolutely. It's like I'm not Mr. Olympia over here. I don't have a six pack, but I do try to maintain doing something physically active. Um, and then what are we doing spiritually? Are we going to church? Are we surrounding ourselves by other good, godly men, or are we surrounding ourselves by people that we shouldn't be? We talk about all of the different facets of our life because God wants us to be balanced so that we can move forward and be, you know, worthwhile for not only ourselves but our family. Um, so we can be men, we can be protectors, we can be providers, and we can raise our children well, um, and we can help not only lead our families and ourselves, but also lead our communities.
Yeah. So what seems to be the biggest challenge your clients seem to face?
Um, some of the challenges is actually kind of goal setting. Um, Sometimes they'll come in and they'll say, "Oh, I want to grow in my spiritual life," and I'm like, "Okay, that's great. How?" And then it's just crickets. And I just use that one as an example because it'll just be like, "I want to get better at whatever." Well, technically, if you want to be more spiritual tomorrow than you are today, just read one scripture. right? That technically meets the aspect of you got more spiritual because you read more of the Bible today than you did yesterday. But that's not really a standard that we want. And so it's more of taking your goals and taking how it is making it quantifiable. How can we measure it? How, if you're not measuring something, if you're not able to measure it, then you don't really know if you're getting better and going towards the goal, right? If you just say I'm going to work out, but what are some of the measurements of being able to work out? I'm losing weight. I'm gaining in how much I can bench. I'm gaining in how much I can curl. I can run longer. I can run faster. All of these are metrics that say I'm doing better. I'm getting better at whatever it is, right? Um, so, what are the metrics for whatever it is that you want to do in life? And breaking down a goal into that seems to be sometimes the hardest thing. I think people know how to do that at work, but other areas in their life, they're not applying that.
Yeah. So they're just not making stuff like set measurable goals pretty much then, what you're
Right.
saying.
Right. If you can't measure it, then who's to say you're getting better or not?
Yeah. It's so
Right.
vague.
It does. It becomes very vague, and I don't want to say that your faith has to be this. I have to do a Bible study for an hour. Like no, because maybe you just need to do a chapter a day, and sometimes doing a chapter is only 15 minutes. Others it could be an hour. So don't put a time standard. What is the standard that really matters for you, right? But we do need to put standards in our life, and we need to be able to measure that.
Yeah. I love it. So how important is it helping your clients with their mindset?
Oh my gosh, mindset's everything. um, Mindset is so huge because, and that's probably the other thing ultimately that there's a level of I try to help you with it, but ultimately it's your mindset, it's not mine, right? I can wake up and remind myself that I have a purpose and a vision, and that today I'm going to do something to move me forward towards that, right? Um, do something today that tomorrow will thank you for. Right? It's kind of one of the quotes that I like to say. Um, but others, they can't think that way. They're always worried about, well, I'm going to fail. I'm going to do whatever. And so that's where the Men of Valor is like phenomenal for that kind of stuff. Is we meet weekly and we talk about these, and that'll be part of like, hey, in your week, why didn't you get this step done this past week towards your goal? Oh well, blah blah blah, and I'm like, that all of that was an excuse. Like you can do this, all right. So whatever it is you didn't accomplish last week, you're gonna do that this week. Okay, we can do this, right? It's reminding you you can do it. It's do you really want it? And it's you either want it or you don't. I can't reach through the screen. I can't control you with the Xbox controller and make you do it, right? This isn't like Sims or anything like that, and there's plenty of like, you can watch Instagram reels and find all of the inspirational stuff. But at the end of the day, you need to want this. You need to want the change. You need to want the empowerment and the betterment of yourself. You need to want it, and if you don't, you don't. And I'll it'll fluff out. You'll fluff out of it, right? And it's it's really upsetting, at times. And I'll try to do things where it's like, hey man, you can do it. You've been through harder things in your life, and try to remind them of things of that nature. And you can do like some little exercises and all that, and they help. But at the end of the day, it's your life, not mine.
Yeah. Like I think a lot of people they don't understand that like it's a daily thing, like working on your mindset. It's not like
Yeah.
one day you just wake up, oh, it's everything's perfect. It's like you're still gonna have struggles and you gotta continually work on it, even through good times, bad times, everything.
Yeah. Your mindset is truly tested on the bad day.
Yeah.
when you wake up and your coffee's perfect and all of that and everything's great and your breakfast sandwich was cooked perfect and all of that kind of stuff and starting your day and you're doing great and you read your Bible today and it just said you're just the greatest thing since sliced bread and encouraging you, and those are great days. And but mental you know your mental health, your emotional intelligence, none of that is tested that day. You're on like autopilot. You're just doing great. This is awesome. Can't wait for the next day like this. And then
Hmm.
the next day you wake up and it's raining out and you don't want to get out of bed and your knee hurts, from whatever. And your coffee, like your cup broke and it went all over the place. And, your boss is yelling at you because something you had no idea about you're late on, whatever the case may be. And all of those things. And you get a flat tire on your way to work, like all those kinds of things that happen. That's when your mental health is actually tested. That's when all of that is actually being, put through the trial of, are you going to, oh, nope. Okay. We had some bad morning. Let me go sit 10 minutes and, or less and rein it in and let's go. Right. Rainy day, free water. Okay. Like, what's the positive out of it?
Yeah. How can people get a hold of you?
So you can find me on my website. That'll get you to all the socials and everything else on there. That's valorvisioncoaching.com. It doesn't have the and in it, so just valorvisioncoaching.com. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, and so that'll have everything right on the website for you right there.
Yeah, also, and I'll put all that in the show notes too. So if anybody wanting to get a hold of you can. Is there anything we haven't covered that you want to talk about?
And I don't know, we covered a lot. um, I think one of the main things out there is that as men in our society, I think there's a main message that a lot of guys don't hear enough of. They hear too much of the, well, I have testosterone, so I'm toxic. Um, I want to, swing an axe and chop logs, so I'm toxic. I want to, uh, I want to like learn jujitsu, so I'm a toxic man. They hear this mess in society. In all reality, I'm here to tell you, all of that is a bunch of lies. Every bit of it is a bunch of lies. You have testosterone, God gave it to you for a reason. God designed your body to create more testosterone than our female counterparts, right? On purpose. And so use it. Use it wisely. Use it to be a protector of your family. Use it to be a leader of your wife and to lead into raising your children. Use it to better yourself and go to the gym and be healthy so that you can be around for your kids longer and better, and encourage them to do the same. Leading your community as well, leading your church as well, in whatever capacity that God leads you to and being a part of. Maybe it is in men's ministry, maybe it's the usher team or something like that. I don't know. Whatever it is, um, you know, you're not toxic. You're not, for being a man, you're not toxic. And way too much of society wants to kind of push that. And so I'm here to tell you that it's nothing but lies. Um, and honestly, I've had a lot of conversations with ladies, and they don't want a guy that is not in touch with his testosterone. They want a man to be a man. They want their husband to be the husband. You know, I don't care. In one level, they'll say they want you to sit down and watch Hallmark movies with you. In all reality, no, they don't. They want they want you to go fix something in the house. They want you to, you know, do all the man stuff that you need to be doing around the house. That's what really mama wants. Uh, if you like Hallmark movies, I'm not shaming you, but dang it, don't worry about it. You don't have to sit there and do that kind of stuff, right? Don't be ashamed of being a man. And too much of the society is trying to shame us for being men.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Final question. What is one piece of advice you'd like to leave our listeners with about overcoming adversity?
Overcoming adversity. I I think it's not necessarily overcoming it; it's realizing and embracing it. Embrace the adversity because the lessons are there. Adversity is there to teach you; it's not to hurt you. If you go at it with that attitude, you will find the lessons that you needed to learn. If you go at adversity with it's the challenge for me to conquer, it's the goal for me to accomplish, it's the lessons that God wants to teach me through it. And maybe some of it is humility, maybe some of it is you need to learn consistency instead of like just drinking a Red Bull and powering through it and then dying off at the end. It's being consistent through life, whatever the adversity is. Power through it. Don't run from it. There's lessons to be learned, and there's goals and accomplishment to be had.
Great advice. Well, Nick, thank you again for coming on here. It's been an honor to interview you and get some of your insight.
Thanks, man. I had a great time on here with you.
Well, guys, that's all gonna be all the time we have here today. Remember, the only way to get what you want is to go through the fire.
That's right.